People don't leave bad jobs, they leave bad bosses. Okay, so my job sucks too, but of the two my manager is probably 3x worse than the job itself. I'm not sure what to do as I don't get any support whatsoever. I try and resolve issues myself, but sometimes I felt the need to get my manager involved. However, each time these issues get shrugged off. The thing that annoys me the most is during group meetings my manager will say something like, "If you have an issue, please reach out to me so I can help," then proceeds to do nothing about it when brought up. I'm under the impression he says this in front of the group, just for the sake of it. I don't know what to do, as any issue I have that I can't handle on my own. I know I can't rely on my boss to provide any sort of support. The obvious answer is find another job, but that's easier said than done. I am losing motivation fast and have wanted to quit every day for the past 2 months. I literally have my resignation letter ready and an email drafted. I only need to sign and date my resignation letter. To had bosses like that, and I always recommend that at the first inkling that you start feeling like you want to leave, you should start applying. The job hunt is emotionally taxing and can take a long time. It is better to start early and leave relatively emotionally functional instead of putting it off until you are a husk of a person, desperate to leave and willing to take anything just to get away. This could be multiple things that aren't your fault. It could be that your manager is hamstrung and doesn't have the power to do anything, or doesn't have the bandwidth. All the same, you are the victim of their unwillingness to prioritize you. When they do that, they make the problem yours, and as long as it's your problem, they are not going to care. When you quit, it becomes their problem. So, as a bald, famous guy once said, make it so, who go apply to places. And use this experience to drive questions for your new employer about their management philosophy and process. It will keep you from possibly jumping from the frying pan into the fire, and also will make you look more engaged and curious about the job, which has typically netted me better results. Good luck dealing with this and hopefully finding a new adventure. I have my resignation letter all ready to go too, even a printed copy in my desk drawer ready to wet sign and date if necessary. Lol, I have a similar situation to yours at my job, and I finally got to a point where I have enough saved up that I can take a risk and resign if I have to without having something new lined up. Yeah, I know I should have something first, but it's my life, and I can take the risks. I want no kids or family who need my financial support. I went to my boss and said it is time for me to find another position at the company, or time for me to give my notice. I've already explored every option imaginable for letting senior management know my situation, talking to all department leads, cultivating relationships, talking directly to the problem supervisor who I work under currently. No one is helping me. I come up with solutions and new processes to alleviate the problems, and my boss senior leadership tells me to hold on any changes. They are making other changes. Well, I've been on hold for more than a year now, and I can't take it anymore. Luckily, it seems like this situation might actually play out the way I want it to. My boss and leadership is working on a new position for me that would involve work I would really enjoy and would provide kick-ass services to my employer whilst engaged in what it is for me. It's not set in stone yet, so anything could happen. But if it works out, I will get to stay employed, do work I enjoy that will grow my career, and move away completely from the toxic supervisor and broken processes of my current position. Maybe you can attempt to negotiate something similar at your job. Can you demonstrate some other areas at your company where you could add big value with your skill sets, so it would be beneficial to the company to keep you on board but change your role? It is frustrating when you suggest something only to get told we'll look into it or altogether shot down. I have done so, suggesting approaches, and every time it is disregarded, mainly because it would create more work for them to look into it, even if it benefited everybody involved. Also, this is a role that I transitioned into last year. My precious boss was fine, but there was a lack of work and the department ultimately was dissolved due to COVID. So I kind of went in the opposite direction as you, since I was originally working in a new department that was more specialized and wanted to innovate, only for me to move to a more generic role where they had had the same practices management for the past 20 years. Only where the if I do decide to quit though, at least I don't have any debt, no kids, not married, etc. Booked his note 616 15 hours ago, amazed at your reply. Assuming an employer wants you so bad that they were willing to work with you to keep you. Every job I've worked at has just said to leave if you don't want to work here. You're irreplaceable. 43 Fruplay share report save. Continue this thread. I love my job and my boss, but I'm being underpaid by 2030. Even according to my boss. So you sure bet 100 I'm looking for a new job and will leave when I find one. Same situation. Over the past 4 years I've had 2 great bosses, been a top performer, literally drove millions to our top line and other people get rewarded while I'm driving a lot of this revenue. My old boss even said you deserve more, but it never results in appropriate financial compensation. I work on getting a new job every day. That's why I left my last job. Found someone who would pay me what I was worth. Luckily my new boss is also awesome. So win-win. D. Have you negotiated a salary raise? Tom have Corona 11 hours ago. Same here. I'm grossly underpaid to the point I'm earning literal minimum wage in my job and get paid about $10 less an hour than my casual night shift job at Burger King. The second a better opportunity comes up, you bet I'm jumping ship. 43 reply share report save. 100. Would rather work at the lower pay scale with a better job life than the higher pay and be fucking miserable every day I wake up. Quit. Job a trial a dig 9 hours 30 dig soon. 41 reply share report save. That a manager say the same line that my door is always open. That's the bzz line just to keep up pretenses. I remember he hired me on to manage a particular project which had languished a bit under former employees. I have found out why quick. He told me a month or so in. You're another to think but to do as I say. The world, especially engineering in Canada, is full of the worst managers. I'm gonna ask a couple questions. These issues you bring to the manager that you say you try to resolve yourself, are they performance-based or interpersonal? Do you ask the same questions more than once? Can you provide an example of the issues you feel management ignores? I think that will help us all understand your situation and offer specific feedback. Most of the issues are regarding people either doing things inefficiently and or not doing their due diligence. In both regards, it creates more work for me as I then have to go back and revise my work, as my work is entirely dependent on the information relayed to me. One example that keeps happening over and over again is my co-workers will relay the information I need. I incorporate this information. Then later on, several hours later, the next day, I'll get an email saying actually what I sent you isn't correct. Here's what it should be, this instead. And this can continue sometimes in excess of 2 or 3 instances per case. And that's the thing. My coworkers treat this like it is an iterative process, since they can never make up their mind. I try and let it go, but it has been getting out of hand recently and it is getting ridiculous. Problem is, like I said, my manager doesn't care. Oh, group meetings. Some of us don't even have that. The project is so far behind we have to have group meetings with 20 people from various departments every other day to get status updates. I feel you. I quit my last full-time job because of an aggressive boss and trainer who'd bulldoze over anyone that didn't like what they were doing. The boss said first day when she took over from my previous supervisor that if we didn't like how she manages then we can get out, so I got out after 4 months. My current job, the boss is less aggressive. but he is toothless because he is constantly scared of his supervisor. My boss's boss has literally told me he harasses my boss over small grammatical errors in his emails, and I know from attending meetings that this guy just has a hard-on for feeling like the smartest person in the room. He demands perfection while being quite a shoddy communicator who no one wants to work directly under. So I don't even want to apply for a higher position in my organization because that would mean working closer with that guy, but the organization itself isn't bad. Yeah, I have loved pretty much every job I've had, but the management and/or atmosphere of the job site are always why I leave. I wish there was some type of job where you just got assignments and completed them and didn't have to deal with management or even coworkers. Frankly, I'm one of those cave people who doesn't like other people. Couple of thoughts as a people manager myself. 1. Try and solve issues yourself first. 2. I just put in my notice at my current job for that reason. I have for the says I have reason Job sucked, but my boss made it worse. He only interacted with me 10 times the entire time I've been at the job, and 8 of those times he called me out in our team chat for something he thought I did wrong. Most of the time the things he was upset about were out of my control. For instance, I had to have projects reviewed before I could move them along the process, and the people that needed to review them hadn't gotten around to it yet. Or someone asked me a question about a system I had never worked on before and were upset that it took me a few hours to answer their question while I searched for an answer. He also misrepresented the job in the interview. I was hired as an engineer to supposedly work on a specific project, but turned out that project was years away from starting, and the job really just consisted of learning how to configure the company's software and provide tech support to users. I'm not sure if he intentionally lied or is just completely unaware of what the nature of the work the team he hired me for is. After hiring me for one set of skills and assigning me to a team that doesn't use those skills, I was underperforming at the given duties, mainly because I hate that type of work. Instead of coming to me, he went to her, who notified me that he was not happy with my performance and told me to step it up or I'll be let go in a month. No details were given, and he hasn't said a word to me since. I'm seeing a trend here with engineering jobs. So it is not just my company. Like you, I've only talked to my boss one-on-one a limited number of times, maybe half a dozen times over the past year. Of that, only one time consisted of me bringing up an issue to him, and the other times were about something else. All my other interactions with him have been during some sort of group meeting, and generally he has something critical to say. When we have small meetings between the relevant people, I'll bring up issues every once in a while, but he'll discount the issue and act like it is not a big deal. Sometimes these issues are more severe than other times, but it is always the same sort of idgaff repos. Been there, quite at that. The thing with bad bosses is they will probably stay the same as they were with or without you trying to talk to them. I had this type of boss who was telling me, hey, please let us know if we can help somehow, but then doing passive-aggressive shit every time I had some problem. Not to mention I was underpaid. My advice: try to find some other job and then quit. I mean, I get this give honest feedback thing in order to make things better, but hey, giving the honest feedback to my boss has never given me the good results. Especially not if you have the boss who can't do this crazy elementary things such as being there for his employees and giving them a good training for the position they are having. You don't need to tell them how they could be better leaders just to try to get some job where you will have this possibility and let them stay alone forever. And last but not least, if your boss isn't aware of problems that their employees are dealing with, he is bad in doing his job. And if your boss is aware of problems that their employees are dealing with but doing literally nothing to help them, he is worst in his job. I think most of the time it is a bad boss. However, We just hired a junior-level employee who started 2 days ago. She is a no-call, no-show today, and it is hard for me not to assume she quit at this point. Why? Because I've thought about quitting a million times myself. The environment here is as chill as it comes, but the work is mundane, the pay is crap, and there is too much processing work on anyone's plate to do anything outside of the box. And they want you to have an accounting degree to do this. I don't blame her for quitting. This job is awful, especially given that they want a STEM degree for a job that pays $40 and requires you to do a whole lot of mouse clicking and other bs. I want to quit too, and plan on it once I have time to look for a new job. Yeah, I agree with you. My former manager more or less bullied people into quitting. Didn't help that I found out that the turnover rate was 6-9 months. The damn job was a meat grinder, but I didn't mind it too much. Only my manager had a manager who did just that. Tried cleaning house, presumably of some of the cashiers who held second jobs or had some kind of limited availability. Thought that putting them on written warnings for the most inane things like breaking hidden rules or vague unprofessionalism would sway them into them quitting on their own. Well, it backfired. Horribly. And in the middle of tourist season. Department leads found out what he was doing and resigned on him too. District manager found out what he did and the high turnover that happened and fired him roughly 2 weeks after I resigned. That sounds like a frustrating and draining predicament to be in. Just bide your time and ramp up your job search. That said, people definitely leave bad jobs. I just did. Without a new job 100 lined up. My boss was pretty cool, too. Extremely risky, especially during a pandemic. But I'm very grateful everything worked out. Wouldn't ever recommend it though. So try to line something up ASAP before resigning.
Like and subscribe for more Reddit content. Watch the next video at the top of your screen.